Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and looked out at the stars. He had been a ship commander for 10 years, but this mission was different. This time he was not exploring empty space or fighting pirates. This time he was going to meet aliens for the first time in human history. The ship moved slowly toward a huge planet covered in crystal towers that reached into the clouds. The planet was beautiful and scary at the same time. Jake had never seen anything like it. The towers were not made of metal or stone like human buildings. They looked like they were grown from some kind of living crystal that changed colors in the sunlight. "Commander Morrison," said Dr. Lisa Carter, walking up to him. She was the team's language expert. "The translation computers are ready. We should be able to talk to them when we land." "Good," Jake said. "What do we know about their culture?" Lisa looked at her notes. "The Zephyrians are an old race. They have been flying between stars for thousands of years. They look like giant insects, but they are very smart. They have ruled this part of space for a long time." Tony Rodriguez, the security chief, joined them. He was a big man who always looked ready for a fight. "Their ships are everywhere," he said. "I count at least 50 warships around this planet. They could destroy us in seconds if they wanted to." Amy Walsh, their cultural advisor, nodded. "That's why we need to be very careful. One wrong word could start a war." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Earth had sent him here to make friends with the Zephyrians. If he failed, humanity might face a powerful enemy. If he succeeded, humans would have strong allies among the stars. The ship's computer made a soft sound. "Incoming message from the planet's surface," it announced. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The main screen showed a creature that made Jake's breath catch in his throat. It was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished metal. Its head was triangular with large, dark eyes that seemed to see everything. Behind it, Jake could see more creatures moving around what looked like a throne room made of crystal. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the creature said in perfect English. "I am Queen Zaratha of the Zephyrian Empire. We have been waiting for you." Jake stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I am Commander Jake Morrison. We come in peace, hoping to build friendship between our peoples." The Queen's eyes seemed to shine. "You have traveled far to reach us. This shows courage. We respect courage. Please bring your ship down to our landing platform. We will welcome you properly." As the connection ended, Jake turned to his team. "Remember, we represent all of humanity. Whatever happens down there, we stay calm and respectful." The landing was smooth. The platform was made of the same crystal as the towers, and it felt warm under their feet. Jake wore his best uniform, and his team carried gifts from Earth: music, art, and examples of human technology. A group of Zephyrians waited for them. They were all tall and graceful, moving in ways that reminded Jake of dancers. Their leader stepped forward. She was smaller than Queen Zaratha, but still impressive. "I am Princess Zara," she said, bowing slightly. "My mother, the Queen, has sent me to escort you to the palace." Jake bowed back. "We are honored, Princess." As they walked through the crystal corridors, Jake noticed that Princess Zara kept looking at him. Her eyes were curious and intelligent. She asked many questions about Earth and human culture. She seemed especially interested in how humans chose their leaders and how they made decisions. "Your people vote for their rulers?" she asked. "This is strange to us. How do you know they will make good choices?" "We don't always," Jake admitted. "But we believe people should have a say in their own future." Princess Zara stopped walking and stared at him. "Fascinating," she whispered. The throne room was huge, with walls that reached up into darkness. Queen Zaratha sat on a throne made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Around her, dozens of Zephyrian nobles watched the humans with interest. "Welcome to our world," Queen Zaratha said, standing up. "You are the first humans to visit us, though we have watched your people for some time." "Watched us?" Jake asked. "Your species interests us greatly," the Queen explained. "In just a few hundred years, you have gone from riding animals to flying between stars. Most races take thousands of years to develop such technology. You humans seem to learn and grow very quickly." Jake felt proud but also nervous. "We try our best, Your Majesty." The Queen smiled, showing teeth that looked like small crystals. "Tonight we feast in your honor. Tomorrow, we begin discussions about trade and cooperation between our peoples." Over the next few hours, Jake and his team were shown around the palace. Everything was beautiful and strange. The Zephyrians had technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. Walls that could become transparent, furniture that shaped itself to fit whoever sat in it, and gardens where crystal trees grew real fruit. But Jake noticed something else. Princess Zara was always nearby. During the tour, she walked beside him. During the feast, she sat next to him. When other Zephyrians spoke to him, she translated even when the computers could do it. Is this normal? Jake quietly asked Dr. Carter during the meal. Lisa watched Princess Zara for a moment. In their culture, when a female of high status pays special attention to a male, it usually means something important. What kind of important? The romantic kind, Lisa whispered back. Jake almost choked on his food. He looked at Princess Zara, who was explaining some Zephyrian custom to Tony and Amy. She caught him looking and smiled. Her smile was alien but somehow warm. This was getting complicated. As the evening ended, Queen Zaratha stood up. Tomorrow, Commander Morrison, you and I will speak privately. There are matters of great importance to discuss. Walking back to their guest quarters, Jake felt worried. The mission was going well so far, but he had a feeling that the real test was still coming. And he was not sure he was ready for whatever Queen Zaratha wanted to discuss. Jake woke up early in the crystal guest room. The walls were transparent, showing the sunrise over the alien city. The light made the crystal buildings glow like jewels. It was beautiful, but Jake felt nervous about his meeting with Queen Zaratha. He put on his best uniform and checked his appearance in the mirror. The mirror was made of liquid metal that showed his reflection perfectly. Everything on this planet was so advanced that it made human technology look like stone tools. Dr. Carter knocked on his door. "Ready for the big meeting?" she asked. "As ready as I can be," Jake replied. "Any last-minute advice? Remember, they think differently than we do. What seems normal to them might shock us, and what's normal to us might confuse them." Jake nodded and walked toward the throne room. The corridors were busy with Zephyrian nobles and servants. They all stopped to bow as he passed. Some looked curious, others seemed suspicious. Jake tried to look confident even though his stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. The throne room was different today. Instead of dozens of nobles, only a few important-looking Zephyrians stood near the queen's throne. Princess Zara was there too, wearing what looked like formal robes made of silver thread. "Commander Morrison," Queen Zaratha said as he entered. "Please come closer." Jake walked to the center of the room and bowed. "Your Majesty." The queen studied him for a long moment. Her large eyes seemed to see right through him. "Tell me, Commander, what do you think of our world?" "It's amazing, Your Majesty. Your people have achieved incredible things. And what do you think of my daughter?" Jake glanced at Princess Zara, who was watching him carefully. "She is intelligent and kind. She has been very helpful to my team." Queen Zaratha nodded slowly. "Good. That is good." She stood up from her throne and walked down the crystal steps. "Commander Morrison, I have a proposal for you. One that could change the future of both our species." Jake's heart started beating faster. "I'm listening, Your Majesty." The queen stopped in front of him. Even though she was alien, Jake could see that she was excited about something. "I offer you the hand of my daughter, Princess Zara, in marriage." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He stared at the queen, sure he had misunderstood. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, could you repeat that?" "I offer you marriage to Princess Zara," the queen said again. "A union between human and Zephyrian, a symbol of friendship between our peoples that will last forever." Jake's mind raced. He looked at Princess Zara, who was watching him with those large, dark eyes. She looked nervous but hopeful. "Your Majesty," Jake said carefully, "this is a great honor, but—" "Let me explain the benefits," Queen Zaratha interrupted. "If you marry my daughter, you will become a prince of our empire. Humanity will be under our protection. Any enemy that threatens Earth will face the full power of the Zephyrian fleet." She gestured to the nobles around them. "We control trade routes throughout this sector of space. Human ships would have safe passage anywhere. Your people would have access to our technology, our knowledge, our resources." Jake felt dizzy. The queen was offering everything humanity could dream of. Protection from enemies they didn't even know existed. Technology that could solve Earth's problems. Access to an entire galactic empire. Furthermore, the queen continued, other species would respect humanity because of this alliance. You would not be seen as newcomers to space. You would be family to one of the oldest and most powerful races in the galaxy. One of the Zephyrian nobles stepped forward. "Your Majesty speaks the truth, human. This marriage would make your species important beyond your dreams." Jake looked around the room. Every Zephyrian was watching him expectantly. Even Princess Zara seemed to be holding her breath. "Your Majesty," Jake said slowly, "may I ask, does Princess Zara want this marriage?" The Queen looked surprised by the question. "Of course she does. She has chosen you herself. From the moment she saw the recordings of your ship approaching our world, she has been fascinated by you." Princess Zara stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear. "Commander Morrison, I have studied your people for many cycles. Humans are brave and curious. You explore dangerous places and face impossible challenges. I find these qualities attractive." Jake felt his face turn red. The princess was beautiful in her alien way, and she seemed genuinely interested in him. But this was not how he had imagined first contact would go. "I need time to think about this," Jake said. Queen Zaratha nodded. "Of course. This is a big decision, but do not take too long. The noble families are watching. Some already question why we should ally with such a young species. This marriage would silence their doubts." Jake bowed again. "I understand, Your Majesty. May I discuss this with my team?" "Certainly. Princess Zara will answer any questions you have about Zephyrian marriage customs." As Jake left the throne room, his head was spinning. He had come here to negotiate trade agreements and peaceful relations. Instead, he was being offered a marriage that could change everything for humanity. Back in their quarters, Jake called his team together and told them what had happened. The reaction was immediate. "Wow," Tony said. "That's not what I expected." "It makes sense from their perspective," Amy said. "Royal marriages have been used to seal alliances throughout history. But this is different," Dr. Carter pointed out. "This is between two completely different species. No one has ever done this before." Jake sat down heavily in a chair. "What do you all think I should do?" Tony was the first to speak. "From a military standpoint, this alliance would be huge for Earth. We'd have protection and advanced weapons." "But what about the personal side?" Amy asked. "Jake, you barely know her. Marriage is supposed to be about love, not politics." "Maybe love can grow," Dr. Carter suggested. "Princess Zara seems genuinely interested in learning about humans. And she's clearly intelligent." Jake rubbed his forehead. "I need to contact Earth Command. This decision is too big for me to make alone." He sent a coded message back to Earth explaining the situation. The response came faster than he expected. Earth Command was excited about the possibility of an alliance with the Zephyrians. They ordered Jake to seriously consider the proposal. That evening, Princess Zara came to visit him. She found him on the balcony of his room, looking out at the Crystal City. "You seem troubled," she said, standing beside him. "This is a big decision," Jake replied. "On my world, people usually marry for love, not for political reasons." Princess Zara was quiet for a moment. "What is love exactly? I have studied human culture, but this concept is difficult to understand." Jake thought about how to explain it. "Love is when two people care about each other more than anything else. When they want to be together because it makes them happy, not because they have to." "I see," Princess Zara said. "And you do not feel this way about me?" Jake looked at her. She was trying to understand, and there was something sad in her voice. "I don't know you well enough yet. Love takes time to grow. Then perhaps we could spend more time together, before you decide?" Jake nodded. "I would like that." As Princess Zara left, Jake wondered if he was making the right choice. The weight of humanity's future felt heavy on his shoulders. Whatever he decided would affect not just his life, but the lives of everyone on Earth. Jake spent 3 days getting to know Princess Zara better. She showed him the crystal gardens where plants from different worlds grew together. She taught him some words in the Zephyrian language. She shared stories about her childhood and asked him about life on Earth. The more time he spent with her, the more he liked her. She was smart and funny. She asked good questions about human culture and seemed to really care about the answers. When she laughed, it sounded like music. But Jake knew that liking someone was not the same as loving them. During those 3 days, Jake also received more messages from Earth Command. The leaders back home were very excited about the alliance. They sent him reports about all the problems that Zephyrian technology could solve. Hunger, disease, energy shortages, all of these could be fixed with alien science. But Jake also talked to his team every night. They helped him think through the decision. "It's not just about you," Tony reminded him. "This could save millions of human lives." "But it's also not fair to Princess Zara," Amy pointed out. "She deserves someone who truly loves her." not someone who married her for political reasons. Dr. Carter was studying Zephyrian culture. I've been reading their history. Royal marriages here are different from Earth. They're usually arranged for the good of the Empire. Personal feelings are considered less important. But I'm not Zephyrian, Jake said. I'm human. And humans believe marriage should be about love. On the fourth day, Queen Zeratha called Jake back to the throne room. This time, many more nobles were present. Jake could feel the tension in the air as he walked to the center of the room. Commander Morrison, the Queen said, "Have you made your decision?" Jake took a deep breath. He had practiced this speech many times, but his heart was still pounding. "Your Majesty, I am deeply honored by your offer. Princess Zara is remarkable, and any man would be lucky to marry her." The Queen leaned forward in her throne. But I must respectfully decline." The reaction was immediate. Several nobles made angry sounds. Others looked shocked. Princess Zara's face went pale, and she took a step backward. Queen Zeratha stood up slowly. Her eyes were dark with anger. "You refuse?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "I refuse. Explain yourself," the Queen demanded. "Why would you turn down such an offer? Do you think my daughter is not good enough for you?" Jake shook his head quickly. "No, Your Majesty. Princess Zara is wonderful. This has nothing to do with her worth." "Then what?" Princess Zara spoke for the first time, her voice shaking. "Have I done something wrong? Have I offended you somehow?" "No, Princess. You have been nothing but kind to me." Queen Zeratha walked down from her throne, anger radiating from her like heat. "Then explain this madness. We offer you power, protection, technology beyond your dreams. We offer you a place in our royal family. And you say no?" Jake stood straighter. "Your Majesty, where I come from, people marry for love. I do not love Princess Zara. I barely know her. It would not be fair to her or to me to enter a marriage without love." One of the nobles, an older Zephyrian with scars on his face, stepped forward.
"This is an insult!"
"How dare this primitive creature reject our princess?" Other nobles began to speak angrily. "Humans think they are too good for us. This shows their true nature. They come here pretending to want friendship, but they look down on us." "Silence," Queen Zeratha commanded, and the room became quiet. She stared at Jake with eyes that seemed to burn. "You would risk the future of your entire species for this strange human idea of love?" "Yes, Your Majesty." Princess Zara looked like she might cry. Is there something wrong with how I look? I know I am different from human females." Jake's heart broke a little. "Princess, you are beautiful. This is not about how you look." "Then I do not understand," she whispered. Queen Zeratha began to pace back and forth, her anger growing. "Your people sent you here to make an alliance. This marriage would give humanity everything it needs to survive in space. Other species will not be as generous as we are. They will see humans as weak newcomers and try to destroy you. I understand the risks, Your Majesty." "Do you?" The Queen spun around to face him. "Do you understand that without our protection, your people might not survive their first real war in space? Do you understand that this decision could doom every human alive?" Jake felt the weight of those words, but he did not change his mind. "I understand, Your Majesty, but I cannot marry someone I do not love, even to save my species." The Queen stared at him in complete shock. "This is impossible. No species would choose such a path. It makes no sense." The scarred noble spoke again. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should reconsider our offer of alliance. If humans are this foolish, maybe they are not worthy partners." Other nobles began to agree. "Yes, why should we waste time with them? They clearly do not understand the honor we offer. Let them face the galaxy alone." Jake felt panic rising in his chest. The alliance was falling apart. Everything Earth had hoped for was slipping away because of his decision. Queen Zeratha held up her hand for silence again. When she spoke, her voice was cold. "Commander Morrison, I will ask you one more time. Will you marry my daughter?" "No, Your Majesty. I will not." The Queen's anger seemed to fade, replaced by something like confusion. "I do not understand your people. You have the chance to join one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, and you refuse because of feelings?" "Yes," Princess Zara suddenly spoke up. "Mother, perhaps we should hear more about these human ideas. Maybe we can understand why—" "Enough!" the Queen snapped. "The human has made his choice clear." She looked back at Jake. "Very well, Commander. You have refused our offer. The trade negotiations are cancelled. You and your people may leave our space." Jake bowed his head. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am sorry it has to end this way." As Jake turned to leave, he heard Princess Zara whisper to her mother, "But why, mother? Why would they choose such a difficult path?" Jake paused at the door and looked back. Princess Zara was staring at him with confusion and hurt in her eyes. The queen looked angry and disappointed. The nobles looked disgusted. He had done what he thought was right, but Jake felt like he had failed everyone. He had failed his mission, failed his species, and failed a kind alien princess who deserved better. Walking back to his quarters, Jake knew he would have to explain this disaster to Earth Command. He would have to tell them that he had chosen his principles over humanity's safety. He just hoped he had made the right choice, but deep down he was not sure anymore. Jake was packing his things when the summons came. A Zephyrian guard arrived at his quarters with a message from Queen Zaratha. She wanted to see him one more time before he left. Jake wondered what else could go wrong. Maybe the queen had decided to arrest him for insulting her daughter. Maybe she wanted to make sure he understood how badly he had failed. He followed the guard back to the throne room, expecting the worst. The throne room was almost empty this time. Only Queen Zaratha and Princess Zara were there, along with 2 guards. The queen was not sitting on her throne. Instead, she was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. "Commander Morrison," she said when he entered, "I have been thinking about your refusal all night. I cannot sleep. I cannot eat. I cannot understand." Jake said nothing. What was there to say? The queen stopped pacing and stared at him with those large, dark eyes. "Your species has only been in space for a few decades. You have no powerful allies. You have no advanced weapons. You are surrounded by species that could destroy you without effort." "That's true, Your Majesty. And yet you refuse our protection. You refuse our technology. You refuse a marriage that would make your people important in the galaxy." The queen's voice was rising. "Explain this madness to me. Make me understand why you would choose such a path." Jake looked at Princess Zara, who was watching him with sad eyes. Then he looked back at the queen. "Your Majesty, may I tell you a story about my people?" The queen waved her hand impatiently. "Speak." Jake took a deep breath. "Thousands of years ago, my people lived in small tribes. They were weak and had few weapons. Stronger tribes often attacked them and offered them a choice: surrender and become slaves, or fight and be destroyed. And what did they choose? They chose to fight, even when they knew they would lose. Even when surrender would have been easier and safer." Queen Zaratha shook her head. "That makes no sense. Why choose death over life?" "Because they believed that some things are more important than survival. They believed that freedom was worth dying for." Jake continued his story. "Later, my people built great nations. But sometimes these nations became corrupt. Kings and emperors offered their people safety and wealth in exchange for their freedom. And many times my people chose to fight their own rulers rather than accept comfortable slavery." The queen was listening intently now. "Even when fighting meant suffering?" "Especially then. Humans have a saying, 'Give me liberty or give me death.' We would rather die free than live as slaves." Princess Zara spoke softly. "But marriage to me would not make you a slave." Jake turned to her. "You're right, Princess. But accepting that marriage for political reasons would make me betray something important about who I am. Humans believe that marriage should be based on love and choice, not on what benefits it brings." "But you could learn to love me," Princess Zara said hopefully. "Maybe I could," Jake admitted. "You are kind and intelligent. But if I married you now, it would be for the wrong reasons. It would be because I was afraid of what might happen to humanity if I said no. That's not love, that's fear." Queen Zaratha was staring at him like he was some kind of puzzle she could not solve. "So you would risk your entire species because of your principles?" "Yes. Even though those principles might get you all killed?" "Yes." The queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Has this happened before? Have humans chosen principles over survival?" Jake nodded. "Many times. We have fought wars against enemies much stronger than us because we believed we were right. We have refused to surrender, even when victory seemed impossible. We have given up wealth and power to do what we thought was correct. And did they survive? These humans who chose the hard path? Sometimes they died. Sometimes they suffered for years. But often their refusal to give up inspired others. Sometimes their enemies respected them more because they would not quit, and in the end many of them won because they refused to lose." Queen Zaratha began pacing again. This is very strange. Most species we meet either try to conquer us or beg us for protection. But your people, my people believe that anything gained by giving up our values is not worth having. Jake said. If we became powerful by abandoning what makes us human, then we would not really be human anymore. Princess Zara stepped closer to Jake. You said humans marry for love. Can you explain what that means to you? Jake thought carefully about his answer. Love is when you care about someone else's happiness more than your own. When you want to be with them not because of what they can give you, but because being with them makes you feel complete, when you would protect them even if it cost you everything. And you believe marriage should only happen when people feel this way? Yes, because without love, marriage becomes just a business deal. The two people might be comfortable, but they will never be truly happy. Queen Zaratha stopped pacing and looked directly at Jake. So you believe that being true to your nature is more important than being safe? I believe that if we stop being true to our nature, then safety doesn't matter because we're not really us anymore. The Queen was silent for a long time. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in the quiet room. Finally, she spoke. Commander Morrison, I have met many species in my long life. Most of them think about survival first, principles second. But your people are different. Different how, Your Majesty? The Queen's eyes seemed to glow in the crystal light. You choose the hard path even when the easy path is right in front of you. You refuse our offer not because you dislike us, but because accepting it would change who you are. That's right. This is why your people have advanced so quickly, the Queen said, almost to herself. You do not look for easy answers. You do not take shortcuts. You face each challenge as yourselves completely. Jake waited, not sure where this was going. Queen Zaratha looked at him with what might have been respect. Your species confuses me, Commander Morrison. But perhaps that is not a bad thing. The Queen walked back toward her throne, but she did not sit down. Instead, she turned to face Jake with an expression he had not seen before. Tell me, Commander, if I asked you to stay longer as our guest, would you consider it? Not for marriage, but so we could learn more about these strange human ways? Jake felt a spark of hope. I would consider it, Your Majesty. Princess Zara smiled for the first time since his refusal. I would like that too. I want to understand more about love and choice and these principles that are so important to humans. Maybe, Jake thought, there was still hope for friendship between their peoples after all. Jake spent the next week as a guest in the Crystal Palace. Each day he met with Queen Zaratha and Princess Zara to talk about human culture and values. The Queen asked many questions about human history, especially about times when humans had chosen difficult paths over easy ones. Tell me about your wars, the Queen said one morning as they sat in her private garden. Not the battles, but the reasons. Why did your people fight when they could have surrendered? Jake told her about the American Revolution, when colonists fought the most powerful empire in the world for the right to govern themselves. He told her about people who hid runaway slaves even though it was dangerous and illegal. He told her about soldiers who refused to follow orders they believed were wrong, even when it meant punishment. Princess Zara listened to every story with fascination. Humans seem to have this pattern, she observed. When faced with a choice between what is easy and what is right, you often choose what is right. Not always, Jake admitted. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we choose the easy way and regret it later. But we keep trying to do better. Queen Zaratha nodded slowly. And this is why you refused my daughter's hand. Because accepting for political reasons would have been the easy way. Not the right way. Yes, Your Majesty. As the days passed, Jake noticed that more Zephyrian nobles were visiting the garden during their conversations. They listened quietly as Jake explained human concepts like democracy, individual rights, and the idea that people should be free to choose their own paths in life. Some of the nobles seemed confused by these ideas. Others looked thoughtful. A few even asked questions of their own. On the 7th day, Queen Zaratha called Jake to a formal meeting in the throne room. This time the room was full of nobles and officials. Jake felt nervous as he walked to the center of the room. But instead of anger or disappointment, he saw something unexpected in the Queen's eyes. She looked amused. Commander Morrison, Queen Zaratha said, and her voice carried a tone Jake had not heard before. You have been here for 10 days now. In that time you have done something remarkable, Your Majesty. You have taught us something about courage that we had forgotten. Jake frowned, confused. I don't understand. Queen Zaratha stood up from her throne. Commander, I have a confession to make. The marriage proposal was a test. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. A test? Yes. The Queen walked down the crystal steps with what Jake now realized was amusement in her movements. For many years, we have watched younger species as they develop space travel. We have seen how they react when they meet us. Princess Zara stepped forward, and Jake saw that she was smiling. Most species do one of two things when we offer them an alliance through marriage. They either accept immediately because they want our power, or they refuse with anger and try to attack us. Jake's mind was reeling. It was all fake? Not fake, Queen Zaratha said. Real, but a test. We needed to know what kind of people humans really are. One of the nobles, the scarred one who had been angry before, spoke up. Many species have stood in that exact spot, Commander. Most accept the marriage offer before we even finish explaining the benefits. Others become insulted and demand to know why we think they need our help, another noble added. Queen Zaratha nodded. A few refuse politely but offer no real explanation. They just say no and leave. But you, Princess Zara said, her eyes bright with excitement, you did something completely different. You refused respectfully, but then you explained why. You showed us your values. Jake felt dizzy. So the marriage offer wasn't real? Oh, it was real, Princess Zara said quickly. If you had accepted, I would have married you. I volunteered for this test because I was curious about humans. Queen Zaratha laughed, a sound like crystal bells ringing. But your refusal told us more about humanity than acceptance ever could have. You showed us that humans have principles they will not abandon, even when abandoning them would bring great benefits. You mean, you respect us more because I said no? Yes, the Queen said enthusiastically. Don't you see? Every other species we have tested either wanted to use us for power or was too proud to accept help. But humans refuse help because accepting it would compromise who you are. Jake sat down heavily in a nearby chair, his legs suddenly weak. I thought I had ruined everything. Princess Zara knelt beside his chair. You did the opposite. You proved that humans are exactly the kind of people we want as allies. But why? Jake asked. Why is refusing your offer better than accepting it? Queen Zaratha's expression became serious. Commander, in our long history, we have made alliances with many species. Some wanted our protection so badly that they became dependent on us like children who never grow up. Others tried to use our alliance to conquer their neighbors. But the worst, one of the nobles said, were the ones who gave up their own culture to copy ours. They stopped being themselves and became poor imitations of Zephyrians. None of those alliances lasted, the Queen explained, because they were not based on mutual respect. They were based on fear or greed or weakness. Princess Zara stood up and smiled at Jake. But an alliance with humans would be different. You have shown us that you will not compromise your values for any reward. That means we can trust you to remain yourselves no matter what happens. Jake was beginning to understand. You want allies who are strong in their own way, not copies of yourselves. Exactly, Queen Zaratha exclaimed. We want to learn from humans just as much as we want to teach you. Your stubborn refusal to take shortcuts, your willingness to choose the hard path, your belief in individual choice, these are valuable things. The scarred noble stepped forward and bowed to Jake. Commander Morrison, I apologize for my anger during the test. I was playing a role, but I want you to know that I have great respect for your decision. Jake stood up, still feeling overwhelmed. So what happens now? Queen Zaratha smiled. Now we offer you a real alliance. Not through marriage, but through mutual respect and friendship. An alliance between equals who can learn from each other. We want to study human democracy, Princess Zara added eagerly. We want to understand how a society can function when individuals have so much freedom to choose. And we want to share our technology with people who will use it wisely, the Queen said. People who will not let power corrupt them because they value their principles more than their comfort. Jake felt tears forming in his eyes. Your Majesty, I don't know what to say. Say yes, Princess Zara said with a laugh. Say you will help us build a friendship between our peoples. Jake looked around the throne room at all the Zephyrian faces watching him hopefully. A week ago, these same faces had been angry and disappointed. Now they looked excited and respectful. Yes, Jake said firmly. Yes, I will help build that friendship. Queen Zaratha clapped her hands together. Excellent. This calls for a celebration. As the throne room filled with the sounds of celebration, Princess Zara approached Jake one more time. Commander, she said quietly, I want you to know that even though the proposal was a test, my interest in human culture is real. I would like to visit Earth someday and learn more about your ways. Jake smiled. "I think you would be very welcome there, Princess. And perhaps," she said with a shy smile, "if we get to know each other better over time, who knows what might develop naturally." Jake laughed. Perhaps indeed. As he looked around at the celebrating Zephyrians, Jake realized something important. By refusing to compromise his human values, he had not only passed their test, he had gained their respect and friendship. Sometimes the hardest path really was the best path. And for the first time since arriving at the Crystal Planet, Jake felt truly proud to be human.